Okay, and this is what he's talking about. This knowledge, this foundation knowledge, these tools, your labor of faith with these tools, your function in this priesthood. Okay, and those who are continuing steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, those who have the doctrine of Christ and are walking in it, okay, as you'll see mentioned in the epistles, okay, they are functioning in this priesthood. They have the same mind as Christ. They have the mind of Christ. Okay, why? Because they're using the Spirit for this. They're using Spirit instead of their eyes. Okay, and they're using truth for discernment. Okay, instead of their own principle. Okay, they're not following their heart. They're following Christ. Okay, there's a huge difference. And if you're following your heart, you're not following Christ. Okay, Christ has to be in the heart, and you have to be obedient to Christ. This is something you exercise your faith with daily. All right, that you are examining the knowledge of the covenant. Okay, that you are examining the whole stones of the altar of Christ, which must first be laid within your heart for you to examine these things. Okay, you're examining this knowledge, the boundary, the framework. Okay, and you're exercising your faith with this knowledge. Okay, you're not using your creativity to give expression to yourself and to try to frame that in such a way that it glorifies God, okay, which is what you see people trying to do. That doesn't glorify God, that glorifies the flesh. The glory of flesh is as the flower of grass, it fades away quickly. Okay, there's no true glory in that. And it does not glorify God. God's not glorified by the flesh. Okay, he set a curse upon the flesh. Okay, God is glorified through Christ. God is glorified through fruit bearing. Fruit bearing only occurs, okay, through this pattern that Peter's talking about here. Grace and suffering, suffering and glory. This is what glorifies God. Okay, and that's why he says, for as much then as Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourself likewise with the same mind, for he that suffered in the flesh, okay, has ceased from sin. Okay? We are putting to death the principle and the aspiration. We are no longer embracing the vanities of life. Okay, ceasing from sin has to do with a separation from that system. We're no longer functioning in that system. Sin is a system, okay? And sins is the fruit of that system. Okay, when you are joined to the system of sin, there's an offspring from that joining, okay? There's an adjoining, and therefore there's an offspring. The offspring is sins. Okay, sins is the offspring of that joining. All right, ceasing from sin has to do with no longer being joined to that system. Okay, you're no longer coming into contact with that system. Okay, and while we continue daily to suffer, okay, because we are surrounded by that system, we're abiding in the light of Christ. Okay, so God has provided a bubble, okay, for the righteous to function within. Okay, it's a canopy of His light. Okay, that even though we are surrounded by darkness, okay, we abide in Christ. All right, we're not joining our faith to that system anymore, right, because there's been a separation. Okay, and we suffer great affliction with that separation. Okay, the sanctification that takes place, that we are separating ourselves from the world unto God, okay, brings us some affliction and things that we suffer because the world doesn't appreciate that. Okay, the world takes offense to that. Okay, the world working with its principle and its aspiration takes great offense to the principle of God, which is Christ. Okay, Christ is the principle of God. All right, we put to death our own principle, okay, in order to follow after Christ, okay, to follow the principle of God. All right, that's truth. That's the foundation of truth within the heart. Okay, the principle of God is not shifting. Okay, the principle of man is of no value. Okay, there's 6 billion principles in the world, right? Okay, they are not the pillars of this earth. Okay, the pillar of the earth, okay, the pillar of truth is Christ. Okay, and this is the foundation that must be laid within our heart, become the pillar of our heart. Okay, in order for us to serve God as priests of God. Okay, whereas the temple is now in our heart, the pillar of truth must be laid within the heart. Okay. Right? The heart is not the temple of God apart from the pillar of truth. It's not the temple of God apart from the engrafting of the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God has to enter in, okay, and that pillar of truth must be present, okay, in order for there to be sanctified activity of faith taking place within this temple. Okay, so there's people that read that their heart is the temple of God, but they don't understand that. Okay, well, what sanctifies the temple? Okay, the Spirit of God did not enter into the temple built by Solomon, okay, which the pattern for that temple was first revealed to his father David, okay, and it was Solomon that constructed the temple according to that revelation knowledge, okay. They weren't building this according to their own imagination, okay. They weren't building this as an expression of their own hearts, okay. They were building according to revelation knowledge. The same thing took place with the tabernacle, right? The pattern was given to Moses. It was revealed by God to Moses, and for Moses to oversee the building. Okay, the same thing takes place today. Okay, God reveals the record of Christ through his apostles who oversee our function of faith. Okay, it's the same thing that takes place today. And they oversee our laying this foundation knowledge of truth within our hearts. Okay, as we build the altar of Christ within our hearts with the whole stones which we receive this knowledge in whole form, okay, having not anything removed from it or added to it, okay, because apostles preserve the purity of this knowledge, okay, that we receive this knowledge with as whole stones to build this altar of Christ within our hearts, and the apostles oversee this this building within our hearts, okay, that we work with that revelation knowledge, okay. That's why you'll see in the epistles that they are the apostles are the master builders, okay, because they have the blueprint, okay. And this blueprint is necessary for our building, okay, and this is necessary for us to have the same mind, which is why I'm bringing all of this out, okay. There's a great deal of confusion that comes from reading the scriptures, okay, apart from this foundation knowledge, okay, because it's the Spirit is the key to unlock these things, all right, and apart from that, you're working with a form of carnal mindedness, okay, because you're you're trying to reference this knowledge from a framework of carnal mindedness. That's not the same mind as Christ. Okay, Christ was not carnal minded at all. Okay, and so if you're coming from a perspective of the soil, okay, you're going to interpret these things very differently. Okay, you're going to interpret these things in order to find value in them to make application with your day-to-day life, okay, while joined to sin, okay. But he's talking to those who have ceased from sin, okay, that are making application with this knowledge and with this power, okay. We come into contact with this power through the tools or the contact points of the covenant, okay. And so he's speaking to those who have ceased from sin, okay. Those are those that are functioning in the priesthood, okay. They're functioning in the priesthood having first received this knowledge. They're exercising their faith with this knowledge and with these tools. Okay, they are in recognition of government, which is why they're receiving this epistle from Chief Apostle Peter. Okay, this epistle is of value to them, okay, because this knowledge is coming to them through government. Okay, that God has selected this steward of his knowledge, okay, and they're partaking of this knowledge, which is in confirmation to Christ. Okay, it directs faith into Christ, and the grace of God is working with this knowledge. Okay, and they are able to receive these things from the perspective of and the foundation of truth and the perspective of the Spirit, having the same mind as Christ. Okay, and this is therefore edifying to them, and it's beneficial for them to continue functioning in the priesthood with this knowledge. They're able to offer spiritual sacrifices from this knowledge. Okay, these things that Apostle Peter is writing to them is putting them in mind of Christ. Okay, those that are coming to these scriptures from perspective of the soil, this isn't putting them in mind of Christ. Okay, they're reflecting upon sin. They're reflecting upon their function and their experience being joined to darkness. They're reflecting upon their stumbling. They're reflecting upon their pattern of repentance. Okay, very different pattern, very different experience that they're reflecting upon, and they're trying to draw. They're trying to use these scriptures in order to find some direction. Okay, in that stumbling. Okay, some point of reference, some framework. Some guidance, okay, but they're still stumbling. Okay, there's no separation taking place. Right? Well, Peter begins his epistle talking about that separation. He's speaking to different people. Okay, he's speaking to people who have first been anointed with this knowledge, and so also must you be, and I can assist you with that. Okay, there's many apostles today that can assist you with that. If you contact me, I can put you in touch with them, or I can personally assist you. Okay, to receive that foundation knowledge, which is necessary for your overcoming. Okay, and this is what Peter's talking about here, our overcoming. So let's go ahead and move into this now that I've done a little bit of Uh, well, 25 minutes of prefacing here. um, and I touched on verses 1 and 2 last week, but it was at the end of the assembly. So let me just go ahead and start here. Okay, so when he talks about, for as much then as Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, this is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 1. Okay, that Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. Okay, for he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. Right, and as I talked about that, his suffering for us in the flesh, okay, while in the form of flesh, he restricted himself from using the power of his divinity. Okay, and he did this in order to set for us the pattern for overcoming. He set this pattern while in the form of flesh, okay, that we who are in the flesh could follow the same pattern. Okay, that we also could overcome by this same pattern. Okay, this pattern, the miracles that he performed, okay, was not the pattern. This was not the record. Okay, these things were the Father bearing witness to Christ and confirming Christ during his earthly ministry. Okay, he was transitioning from the covenant of Moses. He was bringing that to completion. He was bringing to completion all things that pointed to him were being brought to completion. Okay, this was taking place. This was a point of transition. All right, and his performing of miracles was part of that, but that was not, okay, setting the record for faith. This is not the record that we follow. All right, and you'll see that that many people who benefited from the miracles, okay, did not continue with Christ. Okay, they weren't, that this did not draw faith from their hearts. They continued to work with the principle and the aspiration. Okay, so that it was not the miracle, okay, that brought them into covenant with Christ. All right. What did? This is the pattern. This is the record, the foundation knowledge. They had to come into covenant with God. They had to receive the engrafting of his spirit with tongues and be instructed in his foundation knowledge, so that they could then labor with this knowledge and with this power, okay, the power of the spirit, which begins with that engrafting. They labor with the knowledge and the power of Christ, okay, to function in the priesthood. This is what he's talking about with ceasing from sin. Okay. So this record, okay, which he also set for us, we see, okay, in his restricting the power of his divinity, okay, in order to follow that and to remain within the boundaries and the restrictions that he himself had set for our redemption, okay, that he made this promise all the way back to Adam, okay, that he would redeem Adam with his own blood. Okay, this is the blood of the covenant. This blood of the covenant is sprinkled upon the tools of the covenant. This is the new covenant knowledge, new covenant tools, working with the Spirit, the power of the Spirit, okay, all things spiritual. No longer is Christ in types and shadows. He brought that to completion. Okay, Christ prior to his ministry, his earthly ministry, okay, Christ was seen in types and shadows. Okay, he was revealed in part. Okay, this is what you see all the parts as concerning in the books of Leviticus, right? Okay, in part, in part, in part. Okay, Christ was seen in part. Okay, types and shadows. He was seen in part. Now he's whole. Okay, he brought all of that to completion. Bringing it to completion has to do with bringing closure. Okay, it's no longer in effect. Okay, he brought it to completion. He brought it to an end. It's now put away as a garment. Okay, just as you put your winter clothes away, you pack them up and store them away, okay, when the spring comes. Okay, well, the spring has come. Christ is present. Okay, you don't need those winter clothes anymore. Okay, you see this, I believe Apostle Paul brings this out in Hebrews. I don't have specific reference, but off the top of my head here. But, okay, he brought that to completion. Okay, so you can no longer be working with the covenant of Moses. Okay, the commandments and the covenant of Moses are no longer in effect. Okay, the Spirit is no longer sanctifying those things.